Remember the one story about the thought cop in Laverne, Tennessee? The 26-year-old woman who turned the PD into PV? P-Valley, or the Boom Boom Room, or maybe just a full-out brothel. She got fired for being a 304 and getting passed around like a hot potato. A married woman, daughter-in-law of a pastor well-known in the town, having relations with her co-workers on the clock, off the clock, even having an affair with one of the officers and his wife. This woman was out of order 1000%, and she deserved to be fired. Well, now she's back in the news. She set herself up for a legal case against the city. She's blaming the men for having relations with her. Although everything was consensual, Megan Hall is flipping the script. She's filed a federal lawsuit saying that she did say no, but she was forced, and also said that she was groomed by her co-workers and supervisors. I think we all know where this is going. Take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. If you're watching from Tennessee, definitely let me know below in the comments. Thought cop Megan Hall was popping her thought pocket for the whole PD. She ended up getting fired along with several other officers. Initially, outside of Megan, 4 officers got fired and 3 of them suspended. Of the ones terminated, you had Detective Seneca Shields. He confessed that Megan gave him in the department's gym while on duty. Sergeant Lewis Powell, he was terminated. Investigators said Megan Hall performed acts on Powell while he was also on duty. She then went around the whole department bragging about it. Megan also claims that he threatened self-deletion. Juan Lugo Perez, he was terminated. He admitted to having relations with Megan while at Go Kart USA in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and confessed to exchanging pictures with her. The 4th officer terminated was Sergeant Henry Ty McGowan. He had relations with Megan at least twice. Megan claimed that Sergeant McGowan told her to use him if she ever wanted to have relations. They would trade pictures back and forth. Megan also said that she tried to get her husband down with some type of swinging situation with McGowan and his wife. And then you have the 3 officers suspended. Patrol Officer Patrick Magliocco. Megan was having a full-blown affair with him and his wife. Her husband and other officers saw her on a boat kissing Patrick's wife. At that time, they said her husband was upset by that. But yeah, Patrick was suspended. Patrol Officer Gavin Showbro, he was suspended after exchanging pictures with Megan, as well as K-9 Officer Larry Holliday. He met up with Megan on several occasions at a hotel in his house. Now, when I covered this story, you had people in the comments saying it was her personal business. It shouldn't matter who she messed around with. Like this commenter here who said it's dumb that she got fired. I don't care what nobody say. Private relations should not hinder you from having a job. We are grown. Or Jay here who says, who cares, man? Everybody is grown. This stuff happens every day of the week. And by the way, these are the type of liabilities that you also can't have working in your company along with the thought pockets. They don't see anything wrong with having lack of control, no professionalism. We're talking about people having relations on city property, on the clock, trading pictures, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. People like this think it happens every day, no big deal, huh? Well, let me tell you why this is a big deal and why it is indeed their business who this woman was having relations with. Not only was it the business of the PD, but the mayor, city, and the citizens of the city. All of this reckless behavior from these folks is now coming back on them. Hot girl Megan Hall gave all the guys Becky, and now she's flipping this into a whole Me Too situation. In the lawsuit, she named the city and some of the officers as well. For people who thought nothing was wrong because they are grown and can do what they want, yeah, that all sounds good until they start the civil and/or criminal investigations. You thought you had consensual relations with a woman, and the next thing you know, she's got an attorney and they're using words in legal documents like forced. When you see stuff like this, that means you're gonna have a problem. Megan is now applying Me Too pressure on the whole department. Right out the gate, a lot of us already knew what time it was and where this was headed. Now, since the whole blow up, the police chief, Chip Davis, he was fired. They decided to get rid of him whenever Megan filed a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. She said that Chip Davis fostered an environment that encouraged the misconduct. the city hired a third-party investigator who determined that Davis had been aware of the illicit activity in his apartment but failed to report or discipline any of the officers involved. The report also determined that the chief obstructed the initial investigation.
Megan Hall was 24 years old when she was hired as an officer here at the Laverne Police Department 2 years ago. Her plan was to have a career in law enforcement. She now knows that dream is likely over.
I remember while interviewing for the position at Laverne Police Department, they described the environment as a family. However, while I was aspiring to protect my community, the Laverne Police Department was not protecting me.
By now, most of the country knows what happened. Hall, 4 other officers, and the police chief were fired last month. This after 2 separate investigations found that Hall engaged in sexual activity and/or shared intimate photos and videos with several male officers. The chief and 2 sergeants were among those implicated. Now Hall and her attorney, Wesley Clark, are suing those 3 supervisors and the city in federal court for civil rights violations.
Megan wasn't looked at like a rookie cop to be trained and promoted. She was looked at as a piece of meat to be sexualized and exploited.
Since the story broke, Hall, the lone female officer fired and only woman on the second shift, became a target nationwide for sexual jokes and taunting.
I received harassing and threatening messages on my phone daily. I felt like I had been terrorized.
And yes, now she is suing. No criminal charges have been filed in the case. Hall knows there are those who will say she was a consenting adult who willingly participated in sexual antics in violation of police department policy, and that now she wants to blame others, including one sergeant who targeted her early on.
I know what most people are saying. You know, you could have said no. I get it. But my response to them is that I did say no, and he wouldn't take it for an answer. Eventually, I gave in from pressure.
So it's not as easy to say she could have just said no.
She did say no on several occasions. Miss Hall tried to get out of this relationship, and she was not allowed to.
Hall concedes she participated under duress. She's not saying she was, but adds that the salacious details made public of sex on the job put her alone center stage and do not tell the whole story.
They isolated me, they shunned me, they accused me, and they blamed me for becoming a victim.
Hall suffered from depression to the point of considering, and at one point was hospitalized. She felt trapped.
My supervisors worked together to take advantage of my vulnerabilities and my mental health, and they used it for their gain and sexual pleasure.
And that included the police chief, Chip Davis. The independent investigation found he was aware of what was going on and even received intimate photos and videos of Hall.
Who do you even turn to when the chief of police is sexually harassing you? How could I get justice when the entire system, including the chief, not only condoned such behavior, but participated in it? I was lost and I felt alone. I had no one to turn to, and I had nowhere to go.
Hall now realizes her career in law enforcement is likely over, and she knows those ugly memes on social media will remain forever, her reputation sullied.
No woman should ever have to endure this type of... What happened to me during my employment at Laverne's police department, it should never happen to anyone.
Hall now hopes to put what happened to her here at the Laverne PD behind her. She is married and says she has a strong family support system and says that it was her faith that helped carry her through the turmoil.
This woman just went around popping her thought pocket with 7 different men at the job, and we're supposed to look at her as a good Christian married woman? And then that's another thing. Why is her husband still with her? Sir, why are you still with this woman? They don't have any kids. They've been married for about 4 years. You see what she's done, and she's not taking any accountability. She's blaming everybody else. And you're still with her? Now, all of a sudden, Megan is a young snowflake. She said that she cracked under pressure, and now she's blaming the men. Her lawsuit named several high-profile officers from the Laverne PD. Megan said they took advantage of her poor mental state and vulnerabilities as she navigated a troubled marriage. And by the way, Megan, your marriage was troubled because of you as well, your actions. She's been a bopper and her husband should have gotten rid of her. Her lawyer, Wesley Clark, said that Megan wasn't looked at like a rookie cop to be trained and promoted. She was looked at like a piece of meat to be exploited. According to Megan, it all started with Sergeant Lewis Powell. She claims that he wouldn't take no for an answer. This is the same woman who was reported for going around, quote, bragging about his BBC to anyone who would listen after she had relations with him. Doesn't sound like a person who was forced to me. And then from there, she had relations with all the other guys and one of their wives. Megan claims that she was targeted by the department's all-male second shift and was lured into a life of promiscuity, saying, quote, I remember while applying for the job at the PD, they described the environment as a family, but while I was aspiring to protect others, they did not protect me. You know what? I'm over this. For any of you who think that this crap is innocent, I just don't know what to say about you. Her behavior is disgusting. Meg is literally looking like Meg from Family Guy. She had a hot girl summer, fall and winter, and now she's changed out her Magic City uniform for a suit and some glasses, and out here blaming all of the men. You're a grown woman. How does somebody lure you into 304 activities? She went from a full competent adult to some Catholic schoolgirl who was, quote, groomed. Megan is trash, her story is trash, her trying to avoid accountability is trash, parading around the office like a $2 streetwalker, just nasty. And if she hadn't lost her job, she wouldn't be saying any of this. The investigation didn't start until the city was tipped off. That's when they gathered up Megan and questioned her about what was going on. People always get angry when I say this, but women shouldn't really even be in that environment anyway. They usually cause more problems than help. As far as these men that's involved in this situation, I don't feel sorry for any of them either. They're all old enough to know better and know the liability associated with dealing with that woman. And of course, everyone can clearly see that she's blaming all the black men. Every single man that was fired was either black or Latino. Let's be honest though, we all know what time it is. I really believe that Juan and the black men who got fired, they should be filing their cases too. Because bottom line, just like I said in the last video, everyone should have been fired. Am I surprised at any of this? Absolutely not. In fact, I expected it. And all the parties involved, they should have expected it too. Megan is now going to be rewarded for her bad behavior. She's going to make the city pay her a bunch of money. All of the black guys here and even Juan, they're looking at losing their certification, which is needed to get hired by any department in Tennessee. And they better pray they're not prosecuted because the way Becky is up here talking, I don't know. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Do you believe Megan when she said that she was lured into these 304 activities? Or is she just upset that she was held accountable and fired, so now she's trying to bring down the whole department with her? Special thank you to Paul. I appreciate you, Paul, for all of your support, as well as our sister Tiffany. Thank you, Tiffany. And I can't forget about Joseph. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.